Greetings, loves. It is I, Tactical Girlfriend. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing well. Today for you, I have 3 live fire drills that I ran at the range recently. I'm going to go over my thought process over why I selected these drills and my thoughts about how I performed in these drills and the lessons to be taken away from that. Hopefully we're all approaching our training more critically, being a bit more strategic about why we do the things that we do, especially when it comes to spending our ammo and time at the range, and make sure that we're actually getting everything that we can out of those exercises. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, where exactly did I get these drills from? Well, recently I bought a deck of cards from Drill Index. These are just drill cards. Every single card has its own drill. There's a mixture of things for handgun and carbine. You name it. It's honestly just a really nice variety of drills that you can just pick for yourself to choose from or randomly draw from at the range and execute. I think this is a really nice thing to have just because it keeps those juices flowing, it keeps you creative, it keeps you on your toes, and can give you some inspiration for the kind of drills you're running in live fire. And that's really nice, it's really fun, it's more engaging, and it's thought-provoking on top of it all. Furthermore, I did select these 3 drills so that I could specifically work on some handgun exercises. These 3 drills addressed a few things I've been trying to work on that I would like to get into later here, but I also wanted to illustrate some other point that is salient here. I did run these drills outside. It was wet, it was cold. Whether I was barehanded or wearing absolutely soaking wet gloves, I definitely noticed that my grip was not nearly as good as it could be. I was just running slower than I normally would, but that's okay. I also want to use this as an example for people to really push themselves outside of their comfort zones, put themselves out into other environments if you can, and if you can be properly equipped for it, it can really bolster your training. It will start to teach you a lot more about how environmental factors affect your shooting, and that in of itself is a very valuable lesson. So don't be complacent, don't set yourself up to only be shooting in the most ideal conditions. Challenge yourself, introduce other outside factors that will also give you some unique challenges. Moving on, let's get into the first drill. The first drill is shoot and move. It involves an IPSC target at 25 yards, pistol from holster, and you're shooting for time. At the signal, present and fire 2 rounds into the A zone of your target, then advance 10 yards while firing 3 rounds into the A zone. At 10 yards, stop and fire 2 rounds into the I box. The reason that I selected this drill is because it incorporates things like drawing from holster, movement, shooting while moving, and target transition from the lower body A zone to the head A zone. Those are all really nice things that all roll in really well into this one drill. It's absolutely packed with a bunch of different skills that you can apply all together simultaneously. I ended up running a time of 9.88. I had 4 alpha and 3 Charlie hits and just barely got one outside the head A zone. And so what did I learn from this drill? Well, first of all, I need to improve upon my draw to first shot time. I just need to acquire my sights more quickly, just get more drilled into intuitively picking up those sights so I can reduce some of that hang time after my draw. I also noticed that my head dipped a little bit to acquire my sights, so I need to work on just keeping my head in a neutral position and just bringing the sights up to my eyes. Also, see the video about mirror my eyes. That drill is really useful for diagnosing and troubleshooting and working through this. Furthermore, I also learned that I need to speed up my shooting while moving. I just need to practice more move and shoot with a handgun. Even though I'm on rocky and uneven terrain, no excuses. It's good to introduce all those environmental factors that I mentioned before, and keeping your accuracy on point as you are moving with your feet is not an easy task, but it is one that I aspire to be better at, and I definitely could have improved from it here clearly. Furthermore, I also need to tighten down my accuracy in sight tracking, especially in that head A zone. When you get to that head A zone, you really got to make sure that you are positive your target is properly aligned with your sights, and that little box does not leave very much margin for error. So just generally need to work on more pistol accuracy here, especially just bringing those groups down nice and tight within the head A zone. Lastly, I probably need to work on my flinch response. Again, I have another video about this, definitely check it out if it is something that you struggle with, which, you know, anyone who shoots definitely struggles with it, so we all need to keep up on that. That is definitely a thing. There are various exercises that are good to help you work through this, but ultimately, more support side grip would help counteract that. It's more easy to just be consistent with better grip in the first place to help reduce the effect of flinching. And yeah, as long as I'm working away at both of those things, I probably will notice a lot more improvement and more consistency with my groups. The next drill I have for you is an absolute classic, and that's the El Presidente. You start out with 3 IPSC targets 1 yard apart from each other at 10 yards. You have your pistol holstered, loaded with 6 rounds, and you have a spare magazine. You start facing uprange with your hands in the surrender position. You also are going to be shooting for time, of course, on this drill. At the signal, you turn to face the targets and draw and fire 2 rounds at each target. You then perform an emergency reload, and then you fire 2 more rounds into each target, obviously all going for the A zone. Now, as far as what skills this drill incorporates, well, it starts with you drawing from holster. That's always valuable. It incorporates doubles, which is really important for you to manage your recoil and sight tracking in a timely fashion. It incorporates target transitions. You've got 3 targets to transition between, and you shoot each target twice. That's really cool. And then you got, of course, a reload. So this drill is extremely well-rounded, incorporates a ton of different skills, and really keeps you honest with where you're negligent and where you're actually succeeding, and really informs a lot about what you need to approach in dry fire and work through. Now, my time on this drill was 9:15. As far as the hits go, I made 11 alphas and 1 pesky little Charlie. So close to perfect, but not quite there. So I definitely have some work to do. Now, the things that I need to improve upon, taking lessons away from this drill, are getting a clean sight alignment. I did notice that Charlie did land as the first shot right after my reload. So I probably was just rushing through my reload, as I tend to do, because obviously I want to have the fastest reload possible and not waste time on the clock, but I was probably a little sloppy in reacquiring my sights and timing my trigger, and probably prematurely pulled the trigger before I was actually properly lined up on target. So definitely just want to work on more consistent sight picture, especially after conducting a reload. Speaking of which, I just felt like my draw time and overall speed between target transitions was pretty slow. It took me a while to get my target lined up with my sights, and you can definitely tell I took way too long acquiring my sights and keeping them lined up on target. So yes, my accuracy overall with the other shots was good, but I probably was wasting some time just having an inconsistent sight picture, and yeah, transitioning between targets and timing that with a trigger could probably be better. I could definitely cut down time there. And overall, I was actually pretty happy with my reload in this drill. Yes, it could be better, and I do intend to try to do faster reloads, but honestly, that was pretty good. So overall, got a few good lessons away from it, but don't feel too shabby about it. Now, from the last drill, this is the 3-level drill, and this is a really fun one, and it's one that probably a lot more people would benefit from doing, and not enough people are doing. You start with an IPSC target at 20 yards, you have your pistol at the ready position, and you have 3 strings of fire. There's a 6-second par time per string. You're just shooting for score here, so basically make sure that you're trying to land all alphas if you can, and at the same time, because you are working within a set par time, it's going to be volume of fire with accuracy. So the more shots you can squeeze off, the higher your score will be basically. So obviously just try to fire as quickly as possible between these 6-second intervals and make sure that you're landing all those shots as accurately as you can. Breaking it down further, at the signal you drop to prone and you fire until the par time signal. Then at the next signal from prone, you stand and you fire until par time signal. Then, at the next signal, you drop to kneeling position and again fire until the part-time signal. Now, as far as the skills that this drill incorporates beyond just basic marksmanship and accuracy is transitioning between shooting positions from standing, kneeling, and prone. If you are at a range that allows you to kneel and go prone, definitely take advantage of that. Especially if you're defensively oriented. In firefights, you don't generally just stand in the open shooting in a static position. You might need to kneel to get behind cover or land a more accurate shot, or you might need to go to prone to reduce your overall profile and also get more accurate shots. And when it comes to handguns, people really seem to neglect this. The same reason you go prone with a rifle is the same reason you go prone with a handgun. It doesn't matter what you're holding, that is a very, very important strategy, and it is definitely a kind of movement and shooting position that you should get used to. And you should be able to get into those positions very quickly. So this keeps you on your toes, it keeps you honest with yourself, and it keeps you trying different shooting positions and finding weaknesses between each one. And lastly, it also incorporates volume of fire combined with accuracy. You obviously have those 6-second windows that allow you to shoot as much as you want. So try to get as many hits on the paper as you can while still maintaining accuracy. The more hits you get, the higher your score will be. So yeah, volume of fire is very important. And this really allows you to just manage your cadence and your follow-up shots and really push yourself within each position. Now let's talk about how I did in this drill. Obviously it's at a set par time, so time doesn't really matter there. It's always going to be the same, but my hits were 8 Alpha, 6 Charlie, and 2 Delta. You'll also notice that all those shots tend to go to the left, none of them were too far to the right, so there is definitely something going on there. Let's just talk about the things that I noticed that I can improve upon. First of all, with my shots landing to the left, I probably could work on support side grip. I might want to experiment with finger positioning. Clearly something is going on there. I did wear gloves for this drill because that place is basically a super fun site with really jagged rocks, so I wanted to protect my hands, and those gloves were definitely wet. I don't think I got very good grip feedback, but you know, that's a skill issue. I definitely need to get used to shooting with wet gloves. And yeah, get used to not relying on tactile feedback to establish a very strong grip. I just need to intuitively snap to that grip and just need to drill through that, make sure that I'm using good support side grip. Again, trigger finger placement might be an issue here, but overall, generally grip will remedy those things. Furthermore, I might want to isolate this drill, break it down between each position, try shooting a target from each position, maybe even set up 3 different targets, one for each position, and see which ones I'm really struggling with, because I could be shooting really well from prone, but maybe struggling keeping those shots landing center when I'm standing or kneeling. And that would definitely make sense because I have more points of contact on the ground, so helping myself to isolate each position and troubleshoot through there might be really useful in the future. Furthermore, I do think that, again, acquiring sights quickly is kind of the problem of the day that I was running in all these drills. And this was no exception. I definitely noticed that as I was transitioning between each position, it did take me a little bit to acquire sights quickly. So again, just making sure that I'm working on my presentation with my sights and that I'm accurately and consistently indexing on target very intuitively, and shaving down time there would really go a long way. My overall time with recoil management and sight tracking were a little bit lacking. I would love to be able to run this drill and get a reload in it. I had a 15-round magazine plus 1 in the pipe, and if I could just get a higher volume of fire to do a reload and still get another shot or 2 off after the reload would be really good. That would definitely indicate some progress here. So just working on my sight tracking and recoil management, consistently snapping my sights back on target, timing that trigger just right, will really go a long way. And so that concludes my run through these 3 drills. I just wanted to give you a really simple, stripped down, no frills, basic video about why I choose the drills that I choose, the things I'm trying to work on, the things I notice when I actually run the drills, and the lessons that I take home, the homework that I have for myself to work on to become a better shooter. I think that we all could benefit a lot more from just simply being more critical and intentional in the approach that we take to training, especially when it comes to dry fire and live fire as well. And yeah, the drills that you are using and selecting are going to be a really key part of that. You need to understand why you're doing drills in the first place, and you know, it's not just all shooting to get better. It's also being smart about your training. That's going to really go a long way, so don't neglect it. Hopefully this video was inspiring. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you want to, I strongly recommend that you run these drills and take some video, post links to those videos in the comments below. Don't be shy. There's no judgment here. I don't care if you're good or bad. It's just good to be honest with yourself, put yourself out there, and talk about your experience with those drills. And hopefully that's a reminder for you to keep working on them and make improvements as we go on further and further as we shoot. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully this was informative. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell too. And you all know what I'm about to say. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You make this channel possible. I could not do any of this without you. This channel does not run ads. I don't make money on it in any other way. I simply take a lot of time, energy, money, and resources to put this stuff together, and I'm pretty much a one-girl show except for the girls who film me at the range. So anything that you can help with is really greatly appreciated. If you want to go help out, you can always go to patreon.com/tacticalgf. The biggest contributors are named at the end of the video. Happy shooting! Really appreciate you all tuning in. Please be good to each other out there. And as always, please take care. Bye!